Hi, what's up you guys, and welcome back. Thank you for all the love on the last video. I got a ton of thumbs up. I got a bunch of comments. It was really cool. I'm very new to YouTube, so it was really cool to see that support. I appreciate it, guys. And you guys like the car, so we're doing another video. So as you guys know, in the last video, I cut the entire floor out of this car. New rockers. I made like a jig in here. I welded the bars. I welded a bunch of bars inside the car so that it didn't lose its form. And even though I put the jig in the car, the door still was sagging really bad, and I had to adjust that. But I didn't realize that it wasn't because I was doing the floors, it was because of this corner underneath the fender was so incredibly soft that the hinges for the door were basically falling out, and I had no idea until I really got in there and got rid of all that undercoating that they spray from the factory on the car. Once I realized how bad it was, you could see through it with a sponge. It was really bad. I was so disappointed after doing all the floor stuff that I just put a bunch of steel in here and tried to make it work. But doing all that, I lost shape. This is kind of the fender, that's the deal with that. Once I get this bottom half of the fender hung up, it'll definitely bring that line back up. But this gap is so bad because of how much work I did underneath this fender. So let's have a look at it. It looks kind of like Frankenstein, and that's because the whole car is kind of Frankenstein. But I had to get a piece of angle iron in here, get these hinges welded back in properly, get the door hung good. All right, guys, before I get too ahead of myself here, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna start on this fender so you can see a small window up here. I'll show you what I'm doing with the fender. I'm gonna be cutting off the front section of the fender from that body line down, getting rid of that rust for the inspection purpose. And I'm gonna be welding on the new fender, that section, and then I'm gonna be doing the same thing on the rear half of the section fender here. I'm gonna be just cutting and welding and just, using the TIG welder so it doesn't warp it too much. Not that we're gonna be painting the car, but just for practice. I'm gonna be doing that. But while I'm doing that, I'm gonna be talking to you guys. The reason for doing all this was it was just so rotted, and I got it all together, but the front end of this car, it got hit and it was twisted. Like this side of the car was pushed down and this side of the car was pushed up in the front, and it really just twisted the body. So the only way, after fixing the frame horns, and I got the frame horns, I did all the math on it. I had another rabbit here that I was really measuring everything off of, and I did a really good job with those frame horns and matching them up with the front halves of these I guess inner fenders. Everything matched up really well, but in the back here is where it kind of took the brunt of it. And just after all that rot set in and fixing it and maybe just welding it may have just messed it up a little bit, doing the floors and having it all so gutted like that. Things got twisted up. I welded it the best I could. And then it just, the only way to relieve that pressure to get, basically it was like this in the front. And I rolled it back out of the garage thinking I was done, and I looked at the front of the car and it was super crooked. So I was like, man, I gotta fix that. So the only thing I could think of was to cut here. And as soon as I cut, I started from the bottom and went here. And as soon as I got to here, it was like, and everything straightened back out. It was insane. You could hear it. And everything was perfect. I couldn't believe that that's what it was. So it was stuck like this, and then it went this way. So now that that's cut, I'm gonna cut back into it again today. I just buttoned it up for the show and everything, and I thought I was gonna be good, and then I put the fender on, and I saw that huge gap, and I just had to, run what you brung for that day. So I'm gonna be cutting it here and pulling this back and closing this gap so that this gap is the right size gap. So that's my my plan. Hopefully it works out. So got the fender on, that's all set. I want to get this hood on as well today. I want to try to, this is actually the next day. I kind of slacked yesterday. I just did this area and I had to leave. When I got back home, I didn't do anything, but it's all good. So we're gonna do the hood. I gotta pull, so as you guys know, the hood just never been on. When I got the car originally, the hood was all crunched in and there was a big dent right here. And I still have that hood, just because I figured I'd grab it, because it's a smoothie hood, even though it's too mangled to fix. As well as the mounting point for the hood latch is just completely smoked. It's all rotted all around here. It's really bad. So whatever. I have to drill the holes out here because the bolts snapped. They were just already snapped in there. So I gotta drill those out, re-tap and thread those holes. As well as the reason for not having this hood on for so long is, I'll show you in one sec. So, I mean, you guys, as you can see, this is what I've been dealing with, is just, the rot. Some people do, a rain tray delete, and I like to do a natural rain tray delete, and this is where I'm at. So the progress is pretty good. It's probably taking me a couple more years to get it finished, you know. But it'll probably take some of you guys a couple more years to finish yours. So it's all good. We're racing. But the main reason why my hood hasn't been on is because this latch here, when I cut the line down, I pulled everything forward. So this latch was actually getting hung up on this. So I wasn't able to go up with this. Or I keep calling it a latch, but this hinge wasn't able to go up and down. So now that I pulled everything forward, I'm able to move this up and down, and I can, you know, securely mount my hood in the back. Dang, you guys. That took me like 5 minutes. I've been slacking for so long. Look at this. We got a hood now. It doesn't make the terrible sounds when you open it. I still got to get the hood latch, or the hood, whatever, locking spring piece there. Man, that feels good. The hardware that I grabbed, it's M6 by 1. It was just a little bit too short. I think these are, you know, 15 millimeters. I needed 20 millimeters, so I had to go grab some other ones. But yeah, not bad, man. Just, that feels really good. Just, it feels so much more complete, you know? The hood is on. Just those little things, it makes you feel like you just got over this huge, you know, huge mountain of stuff, the stress of getting a car done. It's like something that only took, you know, 10 minutes to do. It feels awesome. All right, what's next? So I want to try to get this thing to start so I can just drive it in the garage, work on it, pull it back out, you know, put the nice cars in. This thing always stays outside because working on that paint job, you know. But I want to be able to get it to run, and I can't remember what exactly I needed to get it to start back up. I know I need a battery. I let some friends borrow a couple of parts here and there, so I'm just kind of going around the house and the garage and the shed and everything and collecting things that I needed. You know, they always brought them back the same day, which is great. You know, this was kind of like the test car. You know, if they had an issue with their car, be like, hey, come by and grab whatever parts you need off of this, just replace them at the end of the day. And they would always do that, so, which is cool. And they do the same with me, you know, like, hey, I need a part, they let me borrow it or whatever, so it's cool. It's cool we got a good community around here with Volkswagen guys. But I just need, because it's been so long, I just need to, and I was lazy, like I'd let them borrow a part and I just wouldn't put it back in, I'd like throw it on a shelf somewhere. So I gotta figure out what I need to start the thing again. No, obviously it needs a battery, thing hasn't ran in forever. So I'm gonna throw a battery in it and plug a couple of wires in. The ECUs, all the wiring is just kind of chilling. So I got to figure out which one. It's very easy to start this motor. I just got to figure out what I need to start it. So here we go. All right, you guys. I never get in on that side. It's kind of nice not having a seat there. Let's try to start this thing. This is honest first start here. This is for the fuel pump. And I believe this wire is for power to the ECU. So you can hear the fuel pump. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I can hear it. So this is first start in 2 years. Nothing, baby. Oh, I know why. Taking it off the lift one day, I ripped the ground wire off the engine, so we got to do that. Originally I had it mounted right here, and as you can see, it's took a little bit too much slack right off the control arm bolt. I'm gonna put it on the old motor mount bolt, or the trainee mount. That's where the old Mark 1 4-speed trainee would have gone. I was pretty happy with that. This is some weird DeWalt battery starter. I don't know what's good with it. It's a piece of crap, but I'm supposed to like wait for it to count down. I know it's not a carb car, but I'm just doing whatever I can to get some fuel up in there. I might just not have fuel in this thing. Let's check. Guys, is this the reason why the car shut off halfway to the show? It's because it has no fuel in it. And it was just kind of turning on just a little bit, and it would shut off because it was literally so low on fuel, it was just spritzing out. Man, that's such a bummer if this is the reason why the car shut off. But for me to give up on the car for this long because it was no fuel, it's really depressing. I wish I just jumped back on the car right after the show. I was just so upset, and like I honestly just needed a break from the car because I worked on it so much, so like nonstop for a month straight. Man, let's go get some fuel. Alright guys, we got power, we got ground, we got a good charge, the fuel pump's on, the ECU is powered up. I think we're good. I mean, we have fuel. We have fuel, so I gotta fix this steering rack again. It's just like, it's just not good. Yes, baby! Oh my goodness. I could do burnouts in that thing all day. Oh my goodness. It actually, a few things happened. My steering column got a little wobbly and it pushed my like gas pedal underneath my brake pedal. So while I was trying to brake, it was also gassing. So I had to take a hard left turn. And when I went into my grass, I ripped the fuel pump out of the car because I kind of had a jimmy rigged in there. And I definitely had a jimmy rigged in there. And oil pan hit the ground. Shredded the lawn. What's left of my lawn looks terrible, but I just had to wire the fuel pump back in. But gee whiz, I'm so hyped on this thing. It looks sick. I can't get enough of this car, man. I'm so excited about it. All right, so I put the fuel pump back in. Let's get this thing back in the garage. I actually blew my first transmission in my first car in the driveway doing burnouts. I had a 1983 VW GTI Rabbit, and I was 15. I wasn't old enough to have it on the road yet, but I bought it early because I loved it. I paid $300 for the car, and it was a piece of crap. But I owned it actually for a really long time. I put a few different motors in it, but I blew the transmission in the driveway at 15 doing burnouts, and then I put a new transmission in it myself using just a Bentley because back then we didn't have computers or cell phones or anything. We were like, you know, we just didn't have a computer in our house. So, but yeah, and then shortly after that, I blew the motor as well, and I put a whole new motor in it at like, I think I was 17 when I put a motor in that car by myself again. It was a lot of work for somebody, you know, that has no idea. You know, I had no, you know, I had to get it running. That was my baby. I love that thing. And you know, I think that car is really what put the hook in me for these Volkswagens, for these Rabbits. You know, I just, after that one, man, I just had to have them. So yeah, that's why I've always stuck with the German cars, just because of that car. But yeah, I got a lot more to go. I got to do this pedal cluster. I got to show you guys this pedal cluster setup. I wish now seeing there's this kid Rooster on the Hill on Instagram, and he did a floor mount setup, and I did like the hang down style, thinking it was the right thing to do. But now really regret it, because it's such a pain in the neck to try to get the pedals to go around the steering column, because like now it's like you have to figure out, do you want, you know, the clutch here and then the brake here, or do you want it over, or you want it like this? And now I'm trying to get it in between, but it's like the steering wheel, it's like weird, but you can kind of, it was a lot
work to get it to where it is, and just to make my own steering column bracketry to hold it to the, you know, the firewall. And then also I was doing all this, I didn't have the dash back yet, so I put it all in, and then the steering wheel was like up too much, and it was really close to the dash, and I got the dash in, I had to cut it all back out and put it back in, and all the while I'm just like regretting not getting that floor mount set up. So maybe I'll get a floor mount. If any of you guys got a floor mount Willwood pedal setup, let me know. I need it. So there's that. The Mark III ECU needs to be mounted. The Mark I fuse panel needs to be mounted. I got to get the seat mounted correctly because it keeps sliding around. Yeah, and that's that, guys. I cannot believe I'm doing burnouts in the driveway again. Feels good. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you think I deserve a like, throw me a like. I really appreciate it. See you guys on the next video.